Few figures in history evoke as much infamy as Adolf Hitler, the man who rose from obscurity to become the dictator of Nazi Germany, plunging the world into its deadliest conflict. But how did this happen? What led to his rise? And what were the consequences of his rule? This is the story of Hitler's life, his ideology, and the devastating legacy he left behind. Born in Austria in 1889, Hitler was a failed artist who drifted through life before finding purpose in World War I. As a soldier, he was wounded and decorated, but Germany's defeat in 1918 left him embittered. Like many Germans, he blamed Jews, communists, and politicians for the country's humiliation in the Treaty of Versailles.
The First World War turned a nobody into a somebody.
In the 1920s, Hitler joined a small extremist group, the Nazi Party, and quickly took control. After a failed coup in 1923, he shifted tactics, using propaganda, charismatic speeches, and exploiting Germany's economic depression to gain support. By 1933, he was appointed Chancellor. Soon after, he dismantled democracy, establishing a totalitarian regime. The Nazis used fear, propaganda, and violence to silence opponents. The Reichstag fire became an excuse to suspend civil rights, and the Enabling Act handed Hitler absolute power. Meanwhile, the persecution of Jews escalated, from boycotts to the Nuremberg laws, stripping them of citizenship. Hitler's ambition knew no borders. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland, triggering World War II. His armies conquered much of Europe, but his racial obsession led to genocide. The Holocaust, orchestrated by the SS, murdered 6 million Jews in factories of death like Auschwitz. Millions more, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, were also slaughtered. By 1942, the tide turned. Defeat at Stalingrad, the Allied D-Day invasion, and relentless bombing crippled Nazi Germany. Yet Hitler refused surrender, ordering a scorched earth policy as his empire collapsed. In April 1945, with Soviet troops in Berlin, Hitler retreated to his bunker. On April 30th, he committed suicide. Days later, Germany surrendered. The world discovered the full horror of the Holocaust: mass graves, gas chambers, and survivors barely alive. The Nuremberg trials exposed Nazi crimes, but Hitler's legacy endures as a warning. How did one man manipulate a nation into atrocity? The answers lie in propaganda, scapegoating, and the fragility of democracy. Hitler's story is not just history, it's a lesson, a reminder of how hatred, unchecked power, and indifference can destroy civilizations. Today, as survivors' voices fade, we must confront this past to safeguard the future. Because when we forget, we risk repeating it.